I want to talk about something serious. I'm going to tackle a social issue head on, but I want to talk about the P word. All these years, we've been told that the future of pharmacy is clinical services. I'm here to tell you that is not your business. That is not security. That is vulnerability dressed up as stability. 7 years ago, no one had heard of Titan. And here we are today, 1,500 pharmacies trusting us with the beating heart of their business. And this is probably the most important thing I'll say today. Wow, I feel like Robbie Williams. Now, anyway, I want to talk about something serious. I'm going to tackle a social issue head on. And I apologize in advance if I offend anyone in this room. But I want to talk about the P word. Now, this is something I learned when I was very young. In fact, my dad taught me when I was growing up. He said, "Beta, idra, I teach you P word." He's here today. I embraced it growing up. But see, when I qualified and I got into business, I'd go to meetings and no one would mention the P word. If you did, it was taboo. In fact, to this day, if you go to any conference, any pharmacy convention, any gathering, any professional meeting, no one mentions the P word. If it's said, you feel dirty. Can anyone guess what the P word is? All right, okay, it's not reform, all right? The P word, of course, is profit. Wanting profit doesn't make you greedy. Wanting profit does not make you selfish. Wanting profit is simply admitting the reality of being in business. You see, all these years, we've been told that the future of pharmacy is clinical services, is patient-led services, patient care. You get these industry speakers coming onto these stages and telling us how community pharmacy is ideally placed to help ease the burden on the NHS. You get these speakers telling us how pharmacists are suitably qualified to help ease the pressure on GPs, how we can help save valuable GP time. I'm here to tell you that that is not your business. Your business is to make profit. You see, it's not pharmacy first, it's finance first. You see, profit isn't the opposite of care. Profit is what makes care possible. Now, I'm not a business guru. I'm not an industry leader. I'm a pharmacist who sat in your shoes and felt the same pain at the end of every day, at the end of every week, and at the end of every month. I have seen success, and I have seen failure. You see, I spent 20 years building a pharmacy business. I was super, ultra passionate about clinical pharmacy, like many of you. I built a chain of pharmacies, like many of you. I set up a large, centralized dispensing, distance-selling pharmacy operation, like many of you. I set up a hub and spoke, like many of you. I competed with every independent and multiple community pharmacy in the country for their prescriptions. I gave the free trolleys, I gave the free fridges, I gave the free MDS, I gave the free deliveries. I became the largest care home operator in the UK after Boots. I pioneered in the field of patient safety. The systems and processes that I created saved thousands of lives. I saved the NHS millions of pounds a year through reducing falls, through reducing hospital admissions, reducing inappropriate prescribing of antipsychotics and antibiotics and sedatives. My business was dispensing 250,000 prescription items a month, and I had a turnover of £30 million a year. Then one day, October 2012, the government announced a change, a cheeky change, to the drug tariff, as they do, Category M and all that. That change wiped £1 million off my bottom line. 12 months later, the business that I spent 20 years building, Pharmacy Plus, went into administration. 400 souls, my colleagues, my friends, my family, lost their jobs. I lost everything. And as I surveyed the rubble of Pharmacy Plus, I made a promise to not let this happen to me again. I promised to rebuild. I promised to rebuild a new company, one under a new business model, one that would actually treat independent community pharmacists not as competitors, but as comrades. I promised to reunite the people who were the powerhouse, the brains behind the innovations that we created. I promised to build a new product, one that would empower community pharmacists with innovation. And I promised to take the lesson that I had learned and pass it on so others wouldn't suffer the same fate. You see, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, that company was Invitech Health. Those people are the people you see with me on the stage: Sajid, Wahid, Human, Jeff, and the many people you speak to in my business daily. That product is Titan, and that lesson is profit. Profit is your lifeline. It's a lifeline of your business. It's like oxygen. Without it, you die. And just like in a plane where the masks fall during times of turbulence, you have to help your business before it can help others. You see, when you're making profit, people want to lend to you. People want to invest in you. People want to support you. People want to talk to you. When you don't make profit, the only people interested in your business are the bailiffs and the administrators. When you are in business and you are the majority of your business owners, you'll understand it is a high-pressure job. It can be a lonely job. People come to you with all their problems. Staff want pay rises, they want career progression, they want more support, patients want more services, they want everything for free. But how can you do any of this if you're not making any money? You see, in business, you have to make money. What you do with the money is up to you. We mustn't confuse our primary and our secondary objectives. Sometimes we conflate these issues, and the primary objective has to be making sure that you are financially sound. When you make money, you can help your patients, you can create new services, you can help your people, your staff, you can hire more staff, you can give your pay rises, you can give your career progressions, you can buy more pharmacies, you can invest in those pharmacies, you can buy a robot from Bilal over there and Cyrus, you can give to charity, you can build your local mosque, or your synagogue, or your church, or your gurdwara, or your temple. You can help your communities. You can help your family. You see, with profit may not be the thing that we dream of, but profit is the thing that will help your dreams come true. Third reason, valuation and exit. Now, many of you have bought your pharmacies, so you'll understand how they get valued, how they get sold. We often hear terms thrown around and the prices thrown around, 60p in the pound, 80p in the pound. To be honest, I've never really understood the concept. It sounds more like you're haggling in a fruit and veg shop. But The thing is, this is all a legacy system of the past. You see, in the past, the entire pharmacy market was held up by two things: Boots and Lloyd's. You see, you knew if you set up a pharmacy and you got the volume, you get enough prescription volume, and you have it close enough to a doctor's surgery, one of those guys would bite your hand off, and they'd pay pound of the pound to pound of the pound. But those days are gone. Lloyd's is dead. Boots are selling. In fact, all the multiples. Morrison's is gone, Sainsbury's is gone, Jutes is gone, and the ones that are remaining are posting losses on a daily basis. They are limping along. The only people buying pharmacies are you guys, and you're buying them to take out your competition, or to increase your portfolio, or if you're a locum, to get onto your first pharmacy property ladder. And you'll do that for now, but if pharmacies don't make profit, that market will dry up. You won't be buying pharmacies. And what's more, you won't be able to sell the ones that you've got. You see, conversely, when you are making money, if you start making money, not only will your pharmacies be attractive amongst you, but also pharmacy can be attractive to outside the market. There are pension funds, private equity, investors who all will want to get into any profitable business. You see, any business that makes money, whether it's a kebab shop or a pharmacy, is worth something. It has value. And the formula is really simple. It's profit times multiple equals valuation. Now, the multiple, typically times 5, could be more if you've got something particularly innovative, particularly special about your pharmacy, times 10, times 15. But the thing is, if your profit is 0, it doesn't matter what you multiply that number by, your value is 0. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, hey, hang on a minute. I know pharmacies that make no money and they sell for loads. And you're right, they do. There are pharmacies, there are people who will buy businesses for strategic gain, for strategic reasons. I'm sure you've done that yourselves. And if you're lucky, and you're there at the right time, at the right place, and it's a full moon, and the stars are aligned, then yes, you could sell your business, even if you're not making money, for a large sum. But that is not a business strategy. You cannot build a business on a foundation of hope. So, now that we've established the importance of profit, what we need to do is look how we get there. So, what are the things that we need to do? What's stopping us making profit? Well, actually, what's stopping us is our habits. Habits that we were told were normal, but they're not normal. So we need to look at our habits, and there are habits that we need to break, as well as new habits we need to make. So let's look at 3 habits we need to break. We need to stop relying on the NHS. Now, I know for many of us, this feels like a tough one. It feels like the backbone of everything. And the thing is, for decades it was. It gave us stability. It gave us security, like a salary. It gave us a belonging. We proudly put signs up saying, providing NHS services. But today, the NHS has become our Achilles heel. You see, when 95% of your income is coming from a single source that can change its terms overnight, that is not security. That is vulnerability dressed up as stability. You see, when an organization is run by politicians who use it as a political football to score points, community pharmacy is the one that gets left behind. When an organization that can't meet the healthcare needs of its own population, community pharmacy is the one that has to pick up the slack for free. Look at the new contract. Same story, same miserly pay. You're going to complain, you're going to reject it, then you're going to suck it up. and now they want you to do prescribing at a loss. Let me just play a quick game here for a second. Can anyone tell me what the value of the pharmacy contract is in the most recent negotiation? 3.4 billion, right? Okay, remember that number, 3.4 billion. I think it's about 3.6 with the pharmacy first, right? It's actually 3.6 billion is the total value of the new, which we're hailing, by the way, 10% increase, very good. Can anyone tell me what the value of the same contract, the total global sum, was in 2016? Anyone? It was 2.8 billion. Can anyone tell me what 2.8 billion 10 years ago would be worth today adjusted for inflation? We have an accountant in the back, 4.6. He says 4.6. I'll take his word. So adjusted for inflation, the contract should be worth 4.6 billion. But we're celebrating the fact that it's 3.6 billion, 1 billion under inflation. And by the way, 10 years ago, there were no services. Let me give you another interesting fact. Does anyone know what the value of the GP contract was 10 years ago? Same GP services. Anyone know? 7 billion, 2016. Does anyone, accountant again at the back, can anyone tell me what 7 billion would be worth today adjusted for inflation? 10 million? 10 billion. 10 billion. So it should be worth 10 billion. Does anyone know how much the GP contract in 26-27 actually is right now? 13.1 billion. So we have a situation where GPs have been paid 30% above inflation, whereas pharmacy has been paid £1 billion under inflation for doing more work. You draw the conclusions. This abuse, this injustice is only happening because of our habits. And we need to break this one. The next one is we need to stop giving stuff for free. I had an expletive there, I took it out. I meet people every day. You guys, I go out to your pharmacies, and every day, pharmacists were giving our services away for free, MDS services for free, delivery services for free, advice for free. And look, I put my hand up. I did this on an industrial scale. I was the one who built trolleys in China, filled up containers, brought them to the UK, and gave them for free to care homes. So I've been there. I understand. I get it. But I want to ask you a question. When you give your time, your services, your products for free, what does that do in the eyes of the beholder, in the eyes of the customer, in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of the politician? What does that say? It's worth nothing. It's worthless. We have got to change this habit. We've deluded ourselves thinking that we're getting paid for dispensing, that somehow there's enough slack to give all of these other services. Well, based on the numbers I've just said, you're not even being paid for dispensing. Everything else you do beyond that point, you're acting as a charity. We have to make sure that we break this habit, and we have to charge for our services. Another habit is we have to stop our guesswork. Now, many business owners I meet run their businesses on instinct. And don't get me wrong, instinct built on decades of experience is genuinely a very valuable thing. But instinct built without data is just hope, and hope is not a business strategy. We have to ask ourselves, how many people actually know how much you're going to get paid this month? How many of you know how much today, the 7th of June, you have invoiced to the NHS? How do you know where your money is going? How do you know what you have bought? Where is this information coming out? If you don't know that information, how do you know what to do next? We need to start making informed decisions and stop the guesswork. So now that we've established the 3 habits that we need to break, let's look at the habits we need to make. Now, you've all heard of The circle of concern, the circle of influence, and the circle of control. The circle of concern. These are all the things that occupy our minds, that worry us. They consume us. They're things that we can't change. We can't change the past. There's no point now worrying about, I wish I did dentistry. Too late for that. Sorry to break it to you. In the same way, you can't change the NHS. You can't change that contract, your remuneration model. That boat has sailed. So stop worrying about it. Let it go. Forget about it. Khalas. Then you have the circle of influence. The circle of influence is around our behaviors, things that we can do ourselves that will change things over time. Like, for example, you absolutely should give the best quality service to your patients, because that's how you influence them. You should look at your image in your pharmacies. Look at the way you present yourselves. We need to not look like shopkeepers. See you with the chuppa chups, sir. We need to make sure that we help our staff understand our vision. We need to set our goals and get people to buy into what we're trying to do. Those things are very important. They help influence change. That tiny, tiny area of things that you can actually do today, which will make a difference tomorrow. Those are the things where your energy needs to go. Those are the things that will give you the greatest return of investment in your time and your money. So just look at some of those things. And one of those areas is optimizing your income and your operations. So within that, we have optimizing your dispensing income. You see, every prescription that you've got that you don't endorse, that you don't claim, every package that is not collected from a patient, every concession that's not captured, that's money earned that you are handing back. That's not fiddling the system. You are simply collecting what's already yours. It's not going to make you millions, but you'll stop the hemorrhage. The next one, optimize your NHS services. I need to be really clear here. NHS services is not an additional income. This is not a nice to have. This is income that has been taken out of dispensing and given back to you in the form of services. They wanted to make us work more for the same pay, in fact, for less pay. So therefore, pharmacy first, contraception, hypertension, flu, vaccination, all of these services, whatever it is that you can do, do it all. Not because you want to or you're trying to progress, is simply to stop the losses. And the third one, optimize your operations. I still meet a lot of business owners who don't use all of Titan, who've never heard of batch flow, repeat flow, Titan AI. How many of you know that we've got a fridge log, and we've got an RP log, and we've got a CD register? It's 7 years of development, of constant development by 30 developers who have done nothing but build this system. It is packed with features. Use it. Optimize your business. It's there. It's made for you. It will help improve your operations, streamline your efficiencies and your operations, and it will mean that you can at least grow without increasing headcount. And the next one, build new income streams. I've been talking about the NHS, but maybe we've got it wrong. Maybe we're thinking about the NHS the wrong way round. You see, we think of the NHS as something that we need to make money, but what if we think of it differently? You see, look at supermarkets. Supermarkets don't make any money out of bread or milk. They have bread and milk, and they put it right at the back of the store, and they make you walk past loads of aisles to get to it, because they know that if they price those things cheap, they will make their money out of you from buying all of the other things that they're selling. So to them, bread and milk is a loss leader. Now, Imagine if we looked at the NHS in that way. So instead of looking at the NHS as a source of income that we have to make profit from, what if we think of it as a way that brings a source of opportunity, that brings business to our doors? Think about it. There are businesses here who operate private services, and they have a concept of cost of acquisition, which is all the money that you spend to acquire a customer. And their costs are huge. The marketing, everything that they have to do to actually acquire a customer is huge. And they have to do that from scratch. Here, you've got the NHS sending patients to you. So instead of looking at the NHS as somewhere we have to make money, so if you're losing £1,000 a month on your NHS services, instead of looking at it as £1,000 loss, look at it as it's only costing you £1,000 to bring people to your door. Now, that concept only works if you've got other things to sell them. That's like the supermarket having bread and milk and all the other shelves are empty. You see, our supermarket shelves are our private services. We need to stack it high, but don't sell it cheap. We need to do everything. I mean everything. Travel clinics, vaccinations, weight loss, hair loss. We need to do testosterone replacement therapy, hormone replacement therapy. Do this and it will become your financial replacement therapy. 7 years ago, as I said, no one had heard of Titan. And here we are today. 1,500 pharmacies trusting us with the beating heart of their business. And I don't take that lightly for one single day. And here's what I want you to understand. And this is probably the most important thing I'll say today. Titan is not a software company. We are a movement made up of people like you, people who refused to accept what they were told was normal, people who chose to fight for their patients, fight for their businesses, people who chose to create their own destiny. You did not just buy a system. You joined something. From today, Titan no longer means PMR. From today, Titan means business.